We're going to hear a few extracts from a debate in the House of Commons late on the night of the 21st of June 1972, as recorded in Hansard, the official parliamentary record. That evening, 50 years ago, a bill was brought to unify the Congregational Church in England and Wales and the Presbyterian Church of England, and bring the United Reformed Church into being. This was the result of years of negotiation between the two denominations, with assent sought from congregations. The bill itself followed careful work by a parliamentary committee to resolve the issues of surrendering the property of the two historic churches to the new denomination. But any expectations that it would be quietly nodded through were quickly proven wrong. There was an unexpectedly large turnout of MPs present to hear an amendment proposed by Nigel Spearing, the Labour member for Acton. As a Congregationalist himself, Spearing objected to what he saw as a loss of property and power for local churches, and wanted them to have the right to withdraw from the URC at a later point. But any amendment would cause the bill to fall, and Spearing's intervention was seen by others as an attempt to wreck it. Alexander Lyon, the Labour MP for York, rose to his feet in response.
For the first time since the Reformation, two Christian denominations have agreed to join together in a scheme of union which has been accepted by all the councils of their respective churches. My honourable friend, as a Congregationalist, asks why an individual church should not have the right to leave after the union if it voted to do so. The answer is because it is no longer a congregational church. It is a united Reformed church. From the time when the new church comes into being, the old churches disappear. If the churches decide upon their own course in their own way, it is not right for us to intervene. And it is not right for my honourable friend, the member for Acton, to intervene. As I understand it from the secretary of his church, everybody in his local church voted for union except him. Now he urges his wishes upon the House. We cannot accept it. It is impossible for the churches to be subject to the whims of a dissident who happens to be a member of this House. That is not what we are here for. And I ask the House to reject the amendment and to pass this bill.
It was well past 11 p.m, but still the debate raged. David Steele, the MP for Roxburgh, Selkirk and Peebles, and later to be leader of the Liberal Party, was impatient to see the bill pass.
The honourable member for York made such a clear and admirable speech that it's almost superfluous for anyone else to say anything in support of this measure. And many will share my desire to get on as quickly as possible to a conclusion. The fact there are so many of us here shows our interest. But I want to say that when a bill of this kind has already been well considered and examined by a committee of the House and is designed basically and technically to facilitate a union and has been discussed by the House, discussed by the two churches for a decade, it ill becomes the House at the last minute to try to throw a spanner in the works. I believe that one obstacle to the continued impact of the Christian churches in our country as a whole is the scandal of disunity. If in this relatively minor step toward Christian unity, the House of Commons were to create an obstacle in any way, it would be to our everlasting shame.
However, Tony Benn, member for Bristol South East and a leading light of the Labour left, appeared to support the amendment.
There is no proposal in my mind, nor in that of my honourable friend, Mr. Spearing, to frustrate the union of the two churches. We are considering whether it is right for Parliament to legislate in such a way to extinguish for all time the property rights of churches which have now voted to enter into the United Reformed Church. That is a proper task for Parliament. I do not know how many churches who go in will realise later how big a sacrifice they have made in pursuit of organic unity. There may be very few, there may be none, but we must be sure that we have legislated in such a way as to provide that this is possible.
As the debate continued into the early hours, the East Midlands Labour MP Dennis Skinner, long-serving east of Bolsover, was surprised that his Liberal counterparts continued to take part.
On a point of order, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I understand the reason for the larger attendance. Property is involved, but I wonder whether you could assist me on an important matter. How is it that certain honourable members who have made a solemn and binding undertaking not to be present after midnight find themselves here tonight? Would you assist me to get rid of the honourable members on the Liberal bench?
To which the Deputy Speaker merely responded that the honourable member's suggestion is rather improper. Another objection on procedural grounds came from the firebrand leader of the Democratic Unionist Party, the Reverend Ian Paisley.
It has been widely circulated that the purpose of those who have opposed the bill is to seek in some way to stop the union. It is not possible for the House to stop the union, for this union does not need any sanction from the House. What I would like the House to do is to have a look at the way in which the bill came before the House. A booklet was published entitled Joint Committee for Conversations between the Congregational Church in England and Wales and the Presbyterian Church of England. The booklet shows great disrespect to the House because it says that the bill would automatically become an act. There is no suggestion that the bill could be amended. There is no suggestion that the House might want to reconsider it. There is no suggestion that the bill may not be acceptable to the House. In the leaflet which has been sent out to all members of the House, the promoters say that they very respectfully submit that the matter having been referred to the committee of your Honourable House and dealt with by them should not now be reopened. So they would deny the House the right even to discuss the bill. What is more, the last page says that if any amendment is made to the bill will have to be withdrawn, that the House must take it all or nothing. All this illustrates that the way that the bill has been brought before the House has not shown much respect for the House.
It fell to the flamboyant Conservative MP for Cheltenham, Norman St John Stevas, a committed Catholic, to mount a powerful case for ecumenism.
This must be seen as part of a wider move for Christian unity, not only of Congregationalists and Presbyterians coming together, but of Methodists and Anglicans coming together. And I hope that we shall see also Anglicans and Roman Catholics coming together. If I may be allowed a personal reflection, it is a great grief to me to be separated. One looks forward to a union which will eventually incorporate all Christians. There cannot be, in ecumenism, any cast iron guarantees for the future. It is not possible to move forward with a whole series of insurance policies guaranteeing one against what might happen. We simply do not know. All they can do is to make an act of faith, to move together, to grow together. That takes time. The Right Honourable Member for Bristol South East, Mr. Benn, spoke about congregationalism ending. I see ecumenism in a quite different way. In the ecumenical movement, there is no loss, but only gain. No one loses his own traditions. People add new perspectives to those traditions. They are enriched by others, not impoverished. We are moving into a new era. This is a small stone, admittedly, but a stone of great importance in a new edifice. What the House is being asked to do is not so much to contribute positively to the building of this edifice, but not to stand in the way, to get out of the road and let those who are committed to the Christian religion get on with the work of unity to which they are commanded by their founder.
MPs attesting to their membership of the Church of England and Church of Scotland also voiced their support for the new denomination. The Labour MP for Carlisle, Ron Lewis, also helped to cool the debate.
I speak this evening as a sympathetic Methodist observer. I get the impression that what has aroused parliamentary controversy this evening is the desire of some to include the bill, to include in the bill the possibility of withdrawal from the scheme at some future date. I think it can safely be said that every opportunity has been given for discussion, for criticism, and even for rejection of the scheme. Ample time and opportunity have been given for discussions and positive decisions. My view is that it would not be morally wrong at this stage for Parliament to interfere in any way with this measure. I want the scheme to be accepted in its entirety. The measure should enable all members of the United Reformed Church to be more effective ambassadors for Christ and his gospel. It will be a new church. It will be outward looking, and I give it support. I hope that my honourable friends will allow the scheme to go through without a division and will throw in their lot to make the new United Reformed Church a mighty power in the land. Heaven knows the country needs it.
Acknowledging that the House had demonstrated its concern for Christian unity, Nigel Spearing withdrew his amendment, and shortly before 2 a.m. on the 22nd of June 1972, the bill was passed. The United Reformed Church was born.